Hello, everyone. My name's Benjamin John, and today we'll be talking about risk and how it shapes our decisions. I'll walk through a real world case of a risky decision connected to theories like framing effects and prospect theory, and also bring in sunk cost fallacy. Finally, I'll reflect on what managers can learn from this case. So, what is risk? Risk basically means outcome variance, which is the spread of possible outcomes. The example we used in class was taking a 10% chance at winning $1,000 is riskier than just accepting $100 guaranteed, even though the expected value is the same. In decision making, risk taking means the choice of high outcome variance options over low outcome variance options, like in the case of taking a high outcome variance over a fixed one. So, for my case, I'll use a personal example of a friend of mine who invested in cryptocurrency around 2021. At the time, prices were very high and people were either warning about a bubble or predicting huge profits. He faced two choices, which were to cash out with guaranteed profit right now, or option B, to hold the investment with the chance of much higher returns, but also risk losing a lot. He chose to hold on, influenced by emotions, social pressures, and some biases, which we'll talk about later. So, a little more about the case was his objective was to maximize financial gains. His options were to sell now for certain gain or keep holding and taking on more risk. He came to the process from he considered news articles, advice from friends, and his own excitement about the potential gains. And his outcome was he decided to hold on for too long, and the market dropped, and he lost a big portion of the profits he could have locked in. Framing effect. So, framing effect is just how situations are presented slash framed, which leads to different decisions, like risk adverse when framed as gain, and risk seeking when framed as loss. This case shows framing effect by when he thought of his investment as a gain. He wanted to avoid any more risk and became risk adverse, but he held on for too long and prices dipped a bit. He reframed it as a loss compared to the peak, and suddenly he became more risk seeking, refusing to sell and hoping to recover. Prospect theory explains this well as well. People hate losses more than they like equivalent gains, which is what loss aversion is. And that's why in this chart in the corner, the top right corner, uh, the slope for losses is much steeper than it is for gains. And in this case, he couldn't stand the idea of losing compared to the peak price, even though selling would have secured real gain. Also, diminishing sensitivity played a role. As numbers got bigger, each additional gain felt less exciting, so he wanted the jackpot. Sunk cost fallacy. So another key concept here is sunk cost fallacy. Once he invested time, money, and emotional energy into crypto, he felt committed. Even when the rational choice was to sell, he thought, I've already come this far, I can't give up now. This is similar to businesses continuing to fund a failing project just because they've already spent millions on it. In both cases, past costs, which should not matter, end up driving future risk taking. Social and emotional factors also shaped his decisions, like peers. Many friends were also holding, so he felt pressure not to sell. Emotions. Excitement and greed made the risky option feel more appealing, and communication. Online communities hyped the market, which distorted his perception of probabilities. So, what can we learn from this case? Risk perception is shaped more by psychological than by statistics. Biases like framing, loss aversion, and sunk cost fallacy can push people to take bigger risks than they intend. Also, social context and emotions play a huge role in risk attitudes. For managers, the key takeaway is to recognize when risk taking is being driven by biases instead of rational analysis. A practical strategy is to set exit rules, like deciding in advance when to cut losses, and then stick with them. That way, emotions and sunk costs don't drag you further into risky decisions. So, to wrap up, risk is a part of every decision, but how we respond to risk depends on framing, emotions, and social influence as much as on probability. My friend's crypto story shows how easy it is to fall into traps like loss aversion and sunk cost fallacy, lessons that are just as important for managers making business decisions. Thank you.